because it's oat milk and it's decaf, so it's a bit of a why bother.
I do that. So cool. So welcome, Helen, to For the Love of Group Fitness podcast. I haven't seen you in ages.
Always busy. It's fine.
I
but
know.
You know, when you've got a friendship that's been around for a hell of a long time, what can I say? You know,
Wow.
it doesn't matter if you haven't seen each other for years. It's exactly the same, isn't it?
I know. And you've got class tonight. I've got a class tonight.
Exactly.
So we got to just like watch the time.
Yeah.
So we've known each other a long time, but for the people that are listening, just you know, a little bit about you, how long you've been in the industry, so that they get where your background.
I started out as a gymnast and then started some dance classes. And how I got into the industry was basically my gymnastics coach was the manager of a local leisure centre. And they had ladies keep fit classes back in the 80s. And one of the ladies who teaches keep fit couldn't do it. So as one of the senior gymnasts, I got asked if I would teach a fitness class. So I, you know, the confidence of youth, I got up on the stage and taught a fitness class and the ladies loved it. It was amazing. So I found myself teaching fitness classes when I was at school.
How old were you?
16. 16.
Wow.
I know. So then I was teaching fitness classes. There were no qualifications at that time, so I was just operating on what I felt worked my body, you know, and how I stretched my body and how I warmed up my body. So it was based on all of that. And then I started working as a professional dancer, and then got an opportunity to go to a local college with a fabulous lady called Joy Martin, who was one of the first people to put together exercise to music classes pre-RSA. And so when I came back from this dance job, she said, Helen, why would you like to do this course? And I thought, oh, that sounds like fun. So I did the course, and it was a 2-year course that was part-time, but I did it in a year. So that was for group exercise to music. And then the RSA came out as I finished the course. So she got the course validated. So I redid the course so I could get the RSA exercise to music qualification. And then I was asked if I would like to teach on the course. So I went, I was doing my teacher training at the same time to be a lecturer, you know, and at the same time I was going off and doing dance jobs. And also adding, you know, the business was beginning to grow in terms of opportunities for training. So I was this very young dancer who was going off and doing courses at the YMCA, and Bob Smith was doing some really amazing courses. So I did some courses with Bob Smith, and then Fit Pro arrived, and I started doing some courses with Fit Pro, and just kept going. I, you know, was teaching my classes, paying for my courses, doing my dance work, paying for more courses. So I was fully at it by the age of, I'd say, teaching at 16, but I was qualified by 17, 18. And then the RSA, I think, when I was 19. And
when you were
35 now, so it's, you know,
not that long. not that long. So when you were younger than that, what did you see for yourself? You know, like you thought, oh, when I grow up, what did you kind of want to do?
So I was going to be a lawyer, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I actually was. That was my plan. My family's plan for me was to be a lawyer. And then I said to my dad, I'd started these jazz classes. So I'd been to the ballet school, but I was at Elmhurst because I wasn't going to be a ballerina. I was going to be, it was to help me with my gymnastics, because I was doing really well in gymnastics and was sort of national squad level. So that was to help me with that. And, you know, dance wasn't a plan. And then I started going to these jazz classes locally. My friend took me, and my friend Sarah, and we met this jazz teacher, and she actually said to me, oh, Helen, you should think about being a professional. I thought, well, that sounds a lot better than becoming a lawyer. I like the idea of that. And my dad said, well, if you haven't got a job within a week of leaving school, you're out on your ear. So I was already, working as an aerobics and fitness instructor. What was it called then? It was called Keep Fit. And like, I've still got some of the same girls in my classes, and they still call it Keep Fit. And their families, you're going off to Helen's Keep Fit tonight.
Oh, so, amazing.
Yeah, I think I've led the life that I was destined to lead. And it's funny how it's all come full circle, because this year I've gone back into professional dance. I've got work as a professional dancer. I mean, how random is that? I'm 57 years old, and all of a sudden I'm getting dance jobs.
That's amazing. That's
amazing. It's a bit amazing, isn't it? Anyway,
I think if it's meant to be, I think it will just come round, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, I think I gave up professional dance way too early. I got far too sensible, got a mortgage, cars, and got married and all of that business. And my heart has always been in dance. There's a big part of me that is about dancing. And I love people, and I love sharing movement and health and well-being. So I feel that I've been blessed to have those elements, both those elements. But if God said to me, you're really greedy, you can choose one thing, it will always be movement and dance. I mean, yoga and Pilates are all very movement dance type work. And I do lift weights, and I do resistance training, and I do running, and I can do all these things. But if I'm being greedy and I have to choose, then it will be dance-based movement. Not even as a performer, that's just an added bonus to do it and then get paid for it. I do love sharing it. So to have a second bite of the cherry is a bit of a miracle, really.
It's amazing. You must enjoy it.
I am.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I've got these dance jobs, no audition. I got contacted. He said, have you got any videos? And of course, because of the pandemic, I have got videos. So I emailed over videos. He loved them. He sent them on. This is the choreographer, Richard Marcel. And then he sent them off to the production companies, and they chose me. So, and I'm like, wow, I haven't stopped giggling about it. To be absolutely honest with you.
On you.
I didn't even have to leave my house, and I got to dance. No queuing anymore. I can remember back in the days of auditions, your agent would call, you go to an audition, there'd be queues outside Pineapple or any of the other big dance studios in London. It's a different world. I have loved hanging out with the dancers as well. It's a very different world. They're so savvy, these young dancers. So savvy, so business-minded. Really, yeah, I've really loved. In fact, this last job that I just did, God, the choreography was hard. And I was the only dancer of my age. The next oldest was 25. So they were aged 18. And the 18-year-old could have been my granddaughter. So they were aged 18 to 25, 30 dancers, and me. And no concessions for my age. He really kicked my ass.
That's so cool.
I really did love it. I really did enjoy it.
So there's obviously, you've obviously got this love of movement and dance and everything else. And you got kind of thrown into teaching Keep Fit when you were 16.
Yeah.
Something must have, there was a hook there somehow, right? Because otherwise you would have taught it that first time and go, no, I'm never doing it again.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
So what do you love about it?
I love serving people. I love helping people. I really do love people. I love animals. And the sort of people who come to fitness classes are often people who share the same values as me. A lot of my clients love animals, love the environment, believe in taking care of ourselves, believe in taking care of the environment, believe in being responsible for oneself, not saying, okay, it's your responsibility to make me healthy, fit, and what have you. I wish more of our society would take responsibility for their own health and well-being. And I don't think our NHS would be in such a pickle. In fact, I don't think the world would be in such a pickle if everybody did their bit and took responsibility for themselves.
I agree, but you know, is it human nature? We tend to get very comfortable on the
Yeah,
sofa, be it, you know.
yeah. I think the less you do, the less you want to do. So it's about,
Mm.
keeping moving. But we've all got access to this information. I mean, it's everywhere on the
Yeah,
television. And again, this is about taking responsibility, isn't it? We can all be that person who sits on the sofa. Although I'm not really sit fit. So as soon as I watch a movie, I got really into watching a couple of, I suppose you'd call it a box set, but now we've got access to to it just by pushing a button. And I really love that program Blackbird, and
okay.
it's really good. But it's like each episode's about an hour, and then I think, oh, I'd like to watch the next one, but my body's going, no, you can't sit any longer. My back hurts. I hurt from sitting down. I'm just not sit fit.
I know I have to move. I constantly move.
Yeah,
When we go to the cinema, we like going to the Everyman cinemas, which is
I love them.
yeah,
Yeah,
because you've got a sofa, right? There's two, and you can really get comfortable, like sit on it, lie
yeah.
on
You
it,
can
move.
have food and drink. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, but a movie is like, oh, I'm done. I have to get up and I have to
Mm,
move. Not
mm,
it's not when I was younger, movement was about. I think I was probably listening into my innate intuition, which is move that body, bend, stretch. I mean, dancers never sit elegantly.
mm.
Dancers and maybe yogis are the same. They don't sit elegantly. They sit there with their leg up over here and never sit neatly with your feet on the floor. I clearly could never be an elegant royal. We have to sit with your knees together and off to the side. I've always got a leg over here, or fidget and twitch all over the place. Yeah, I
You
know.
know, you mentioned earlier on you're hanging out with these young dancers, and you say they're really savvy, they've got business sense.
Yeah.
Were you like that when you started
Oh,
off?
heaven, no, absolutely not. No, not at all. And actual fact, it wasn't. It wasn't even highly regarded. Like at that time, I think dancers were seen as pretty props around the background. And if you didn't like what was happening, like, I remember there was a job where we were contracted for a certain amount of time and the rehearsals had gone over, and I actually had to get back to teach my evening classes. And like, well, you can't go. And I'm like, well, I have to go. I was contracted until this time, and I said, no, I've actually got a class, and they're like, well, you can't go, and I'm like, but I have to go, and I said, I've seen the contract, and they're like, well, speak to your agent. I'm like, well, you can speak to my agent, but I've got to go, and it's that sort of, I wasn't being bloody minded. It wasn't that I'm only contracted to this time, but I had another commitment, and it doesn't make you, it makes you're regarded as blinking watch, you're regarded as I don't know, not unprofessional, but just difficult. So if you stick up for
Right.
yourself, you're seen as difficult. You were seen at that time as difficult, and we'll get another one in. So
Mm,
a lot of the dancers were I don't know, low self-confidence, low self-esteem, not seen as proper professionals, and therefore they didn't feel they were regarded that way and would put up with all sorts of rubbish, but they don't now. They do really regard themselves better.
mm. Do you see any similarities back then and now with the group fitness industry?
100%. We could get women's lib about it, and it's because it is still predominantly a female industry. It's
Mm,
exercise to music. Therefore, it for many, it's regarded as a second income. It might be in my imagination, but a lot of the people who are teaching are older women,
mm,
who started training, who were teaching like me back in the 80s, and have sort of had to be put through, they're doing all the pre-choreographed programs. They used to do their own classes, and now they're teaching all the pre-choreographed programs, and therefore not regarded as they're replaceable because somebody else can teach that pre-choreographed program, add the label as per.
mm,
And so if you don't like it, you know where you can go. There is somebody
mm,
else who teaches exactly the same program.
mm,
And so I think you've got this second, it's poorly paid For some people, it's a hobby. For some people, it's the second income. So, you know, a little bit of pin money. For some people, it's a way of getting a health club membership. For some people, it's a way of expressing themselves and maybe, you know, being a person at the front. For some people, it's a way of getting paid to keep fit. Yeah. And I think, you know, that's possibly how one is regarded and maybe regarded by employers or even participants, maybe.
I just wonder, there's been a lot of talk about, like, you know, the industry as a whole, how we need to lift it up to make it more professional. But then when you're talking about things like this, for a lot of people, it is just their, you know, additional income. It is the fact that they think, you know what, I might as well get paid to keep fit myself, right? Do you think we'll ever get to a stage where you would treat this as a profession?
Well, if I'm honest with you, I mean, I for me, it's been my sole income apart from dance, but that's not just group exercise. There's the personal training, the one-to-one work as well. So I sort of put it all together as my role works within multidiscipline health and fitness. I couldn't survive on group X alone. I mean, my income is my income. It's my business. My business is an umbrella for, as I say, multidiscipline health and fitness. But I would struggle to see how anybody could live on a wage where they didn't break. I mean, I can remember, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, people teaching 20, 25 classes. I don't know how those people manage to do that number of classes, and are they broken now? You know, have they damaged themselves so that they can't continue in that way? I know a lot of people moved into Pilates and yoga thinking that was a softer option on their body.
Yeah.
And maybe it has been. I mean, I teach a mix. I have 9 classes, group X classes a week, and no repeats, and they are all created by me for my client base. I do think that the teaching demographic's older. You see that at these fitness events. And
there's not many new, like, young blood coming through, right?
No, and I think that a lot of these gyms are very much focused about the 24-hour gyms are very pile them high, you know, lots of members, people letting themselves in, letting themselves out to these 24-hour gyms, very much focused on the Instagram. A lot of their changing rooms have got selfie mirrors, you've got special lighting so that you can take selfies. Now, that's not really my demographic, because most of them don't even like looking in the mirror. Because there isn't a 20-year-old looking back at them. You know, there's somebody that resembles their mum or their dad looking back at them. So, you know, definitely the gym culture has created, you know, the sort of the little waist, the big bottom, you know, the crop top. That's where the young people are. Apart from dance studios, if you go to a dance studio, then they're dancing. They're not doing music. From what I can see. So we don't have that group X teacher coming in, I don't think. I'm not seeing them anyway.
What do you think then the future holds for this industry?
Well, I'd like to, everything goes full circle, doesn't it? I'm wondering if all of a sudden aerobics will be reinvented. I mean,
with the thong leotards and leg warmers.
Please God, no. We were talking about that the other day. I was saying, what were we thinking? But to be fair, you know, back in the 80s, when you had, you know, when we all had cute little bottoms, okay, fair enough. I don't know. I mean, I think, as I say, at the moment, the trend for the youngster seems to be the Instagram imagery. I was chatting to one of my young teachers who's also a professional dancer. We were talking about creating opportunities. You know, we're always trying to create our future as opposed to be too reactive. You know, that's what we're told. Don't wait, go out there and find it. And she was saying, the thing is, Helen, there's so much free content now on the internet. that you don't have to pay for experts. You know, there's all these influencers who are giving away free content. Maybe they're after clicks, they're after sponsorships. You know, that's how they make their money. But you know, my client base aren't those customers. They're the ones who want to turn up in the flesh. Actually, they're all they're quite happy with Zoom, most of them now. You know, I've got a lot that haven't come back after the pandemic, and because I still live stream my classes.
Yeah.
As well as in the studio, I've got some that are happy to stay on Zoom. And I say that, yeah, I prefer to see them in the flesh. You know, when I've got everybody on the Zoom screen in front of me, it's really easy to check on them. But when you've got them in the studio as well as on the Zoom screen, you have to work harder, don't you? Well,
yeah,
I have,
yeah, definitely. And teaching both at the same time is a different skill, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's tiring. You've got to like focus. Like we've got a big TV up there now, you know, and we're teaching here at the studio. It's like, yeah,
absolutely. And I'm the same in my, I mean, I've got 2 studios I use, and the studio I've got here, I've got a big monitor up as well. So and that's quite new, that big monitor. I used to have the TV screen at eye level, but I've installed mirrors. So we're facing the mirrors with the TV in front of us and the camera in front of us. So I've got to adjust my teaching again. I mean, for my entire teaching career, I taught with my back to the mirrors, facing the students. But when we came back to face, I was really paranoid about people breathing on me.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't like the idea of people, my whole class, just looking at me and then breathing on me. So actually, I'm now with my back to the class, facing mirrors, with the camera facing me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So again, I've changed the way I've taught again. So we had to suddenly jump up onto Zoom, and then Zoom and the studio live. So we're, you know, constantly having to adapt. But we can do it. We've done it, haven't we?
We have. And we keep evolving, and that's why we're still here, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
What's if I'm going to ask you, what have you done? You know, what's the craziest thing you've done for the love of group fitness?
I think travel to the other side of the world.
Right.
And get off the plane and go and present. So I'm in New Zealand, and I don't know up from down. And I'm suffering from jet lag and absolute exhaustion. And then, you know, and be home in a week. So gone, done it, gone across New Zealand, and then be home. And I'm like off the plane, and like I'm seeing the same people I saw just the week before. But I've been to New Zealand in that time. I thought that was pretty crazy.
Gosh, do you think you could do that now?
No, I wouldn't want to. This is it. I say no now. I mean, I do. You know, I'm honoured to be invited to events and conventions, but I have to say that it's not a hobby, and I don't believe in any other industry you would be offered poor remuneration when you have as much experience and qualifications and knowledge as people who, like me, have been around for such a long time. That, you know, it's got to be worth your while, you know. And it's actually rather insulting for it not to be. It's rather rude, isn't it, not to pay people what they're worth. And
that hasn't changed, has it?
No. I mean, in fact, you know, it was when you went across to Europe and other countries, they would always offer you more money. And I don't want to make everything about money, but hell, you know, we've got bills to pay.
Yeah.
And, you know, the knowledge and experience that we've gained hasn't come for free. You know, we've invested in that, and that's what makes us better at what we do, and therefore the person that other people want to come to and want to learn from. So I just think it's appropriate to pay people what they're worth. The nurses at the moment are trying to fight for exactly that.
But then, going back to what you were saying before is that, teaching group fitness is perhaps something that people do on the side. And there are a lot of people who have, 9 to 5 job, good jobs, accountants, lawyers and stuff. And then they love group fitness as a participant, and they train up so that they're teaching in the evening, and so it may, that doesn't, we don't help ourselves, I don't think, with the industry, because there are people that are willing, because they are doing it as a paid hobby,
Yeah,
that they'll accept anything or
yeah,
nothing. And then there's those of us that are, this is what we do to
yeah,
pay our bills.
absolutely.
And
It's a
and that makes it
challenge.
difficult.
Yeah, it is. It is a challenge because, they have every right to do that. My hairdresser recently went to one of these, she's not a fitness person, and she went to one of these outdoor boot campy things, like a military fitness thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was, I think he was doing it either for nothing or for like really very little money. And they do it. I'm not quite sure why they do it, but they are serving military personnel, and they run these outdoor boot camps. And so I said to her, I said, well, if I said to you, can you please cut my hair for nothing? What would you say? You would say, well, no, I need to pay my bills. How would you feel if I said, if I went to another hairdresser because they do my hair for nothing? How would you feel about going to that hairdresser, me using, would you be happy with that hairdresser? I say, so all the time there are people who are giving for nothing. They are because they can afford to do that. They don't have to earn the money. How does that help their colleagues and fellow professionals who can't do it for nothing? They have to make a living. So, it does impact us when people work for low pay, very little money, because there will be people who will always choose the cheapest because they have to, maybe they have to, or maybe they choose to go for the cheapest option. But I've always said my market isn't the person who wants to go for the cheapest option. My market are the people who want to, I don't compete on price. I can't compete with no money anyway, when people are charging. And there comes a point where, initially you may want to cut your teeth and get your experience and your knowledge and so on and so forth. But then, if you're going to continue as a professional, then I've always found people don't value what they don't pay for anyway.
That's true. I say that, like in terms of like the business coaching that business coaches I've had, the more I pay, the more I show up, because I'm thinking, do you know what? I'm going to get my money's worth, and I've got more skin in the game here, whereas there've been other coaches that I've got stuff for free, and you just think, yeah, it's nice, it's useful, but it doesn't necessarily, it might move me one step forwards, but it's not transformational for me as a person.
No. Yeah.
And I think the same.
Also, go on. Sorry.
I think the same in fitness, we're in the fitness industry. I can easily write a program for myself, but I would rather pay a personal trainer as well, because there's also the accountability of showing up.
Absolutely, 100%. I absolutely agree that even my colleague Steve used to coach me when I was competing in sports aerobics. We were friends, really good friends, best friends. But when we walked into that studio, I was scared of him. I was like, well, he could say, he could push me so hard that I'd throw up in a bucket. There was still that respect for him as my coach, and I really enjoyed. I love being the student. I mean, I've done your courses, and I absolutely love being your student. And I still go to dance classes. Dancers throughout their dance career still take dance classes from well-respected teachers and choreographers, and you pay for them. You'd expect to. I mean, I can't say it's all about money, because I do okay, I do well, I make a good living out of it. I could have been a lawyer and earn a lot more money. So there's this balance between passion and the only reason I can stay doing what I do and evolving as a fitness professional is because I do get paid for it. You know, if you're an accountant all day long, I know all the accountants I know are absolutely exhausted when it comes to year end and you know, trying to chase up their clients to get people like me to get their books in on time. How do you go in the evening and do your teaching as in a manner that I would be able to do it, because I'm devoting that much attention, thought and time to it? You know, even if you're doing when I say even, I don't want to undermine it. You know, I can create a class really quickly, or it might take me absolutely ages. There's no rhyme or reason, you know, when I'm creating choreography or content. But I do know the more tired I am and the more stressed I am, the harder it is for me to create something that's special. And that's my aim every time I teach a class, for it to be a special moment, a special, non-repeatable event. It's like coming to my house for a special party or coming to my studio. I want it to be like a professional presentation, like I would do when I'm presenting at an event. I don't know how I would do that if I was absolutely hanging, because I'd be doing a difficult law case or a difficult accounts project or something. But that might just be me. They might be just supremely brilliant.
Maybe we're all different.
Yeah.
What drives you still, Helen? You know, like, you know, you mentioned your age. You've been teaching this since you were 16.
Yeah.
Why do you still do it?
I believe in it. I believe that it is my vocation in life, and I do love it. I love the people. I have, you know, I call them my DYBO family. And you know, I'll give you an example. I've got a client who I can literally remember her first class when she came along, and we had a debate about what she was wearing on her feet. And she's now in her 70s, and I call her my push-up queen. She bangs out 20-30 push-ups full length, amazing. You know, she's been working on chin-ups. She's absolutely brilliant. But this year, her husband got a cancer diagnosis, thought he got over it. Turns out in July, it had come back really badly, and he passed away 4 weeks ago. And every single one of my class reached out and supported, and I was given the privilege of reaching out and supporting this lady at this really challenging time. And literally, she also goes to the local leisure centre as well as my classes, but it was just my classes that she continued to attend, and her personal training. She knew she was safe. She knew I would understand, and however she felt was absolutely okay and all right. Now that's why I do what I do without sounding pompous, because there's a massive trust and a big love that we have for each other. We've grown up together, for goodness sake. I mean, we started in the 80s, and if we see or feel or hear anybody's having a hard time, then everyone rallies round. I mean, Christmas time is often a time when your clients will buy you presents and all of this. And I've said to my class participants, as well as my PT clients, listen, don't put your hands in your pocket and buy me a present this year. Don't do it. And I know you'll want to, but I would rather you paid for coming to classes and help me pay my mortgage and my bills, rather than make life difficult for yourself because of that. But they do want to express their gratitude and their thanks. So that's really why I do it, because of the humans and the relationships, and the fact I'm a massive control freak, and I'm the only person who can look after them properly.
Do you think so? With that in mind, what does your future look like? Do you see yourself teaching till you drop? What?
Do you know? I'm not a. You know, it's so funny, isn't it? Because I'm not brilliant, I don't think, at looking forwards and planning too far ahead. I'm probably more reactive. I've never had a cunning plan in my life. I've told you that before. And like, for example, I mean, who'd have thought that I'd have some dance jobs, you know, like I was talking about earlier. I would love to do some more dance jobs. That was great fun. So yeah, while I can and my knees can hold up and I can still kick my height and jump into the splits, I'm going to do that. What else do I think is for me? I'm not a person who's all that bothered about setting the world alight with a brand new product or a massive invention. I had those thoughts when I was younger, and observed, and the more I noted that people were inventing this brand new thing, I'm not sure it brought them a great deal of happiness. And it seemed very stressful and very worrying, the bigger they tried to make it. So maybe I'm just a bit small-minded. I think to continue doing what I'm doing, continue growing and learning, and continuing to work on trying to get that work-life balance that I manage sometimes and then I don't other times. So I'm still growing and learning, and I'm still work in progress. I'm going to have to live for a long time, I think, to get this right.
The work-life balance.
And then like breathe my last breath. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I am still studying, I am still learning, because, you know, as I go through life, I pick up information that I want to share with people, and all of a sudden you go, oh, you know, I needed that right now. Do you find that people come to you at the right time, you know, when they're ready, when you're ready?
Yeah,
and there's
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's a saying, isn't it, where when the student is ready, the teacher appears, kind of thing. It's the other way around as well. I think as a teacher, the students will also appear at the right time.
I think so, absolutely. I mean, I think at the moment, I'm happy to support my colleagues, my professional colleagues, and I'm more than happy to support my community, and it's my joy and it's my pleasure. And I think at the same time, I'm trying to heal myself from the last few years. And there's a lot of reflection going on with me a lot of the time over what's happened over the past 2 years and how we're all grieving, of course. And then we've been thrown into this period of uncertainty with the war in Ukraine, and the impact that that's had across the world. So I don't think everyone's had the chance to recover from the pandemic. And I'm not sure if it's happened to you, but recently, honestly, the flus and bugs and viruses that I've been warning everybody to guard against and nurture their immune system and everything. But I think everyone's panicking. I do think we need to stop listening to the television and the radio quite so much, because there is only bad news, and they live in it. They love it. I've actually joined a thing that's about all good news, so you just get good news stories coming through.
I think is it a website or something where you just get good news? I signed up as well, because I just think it's still negative energy, and I don't think on an energetic level it helps us really. It's becoming self-fulfilling as well. You know, if we tell everybody that the economy's awful and we're all miserable and we're all unhappy, that's exactly what happens. People stop spending money. They stop going to the cinema. They stop, you know, going to their gyms. And you've got money experts who are saying, yeah, jack in your gym membership. No, use your blinking gym membership. Don't jack it in. Use it, and stop spending your money on, you know, things that you're going to use once and dump and, you know, pollute the planet with. You know, this disposable attitude towards things that we put on our body and we put in our body and we put in our homes and we drive around in. I think that's where we can save a bit of money. Absolutely. For goodness sake, we need to get out there. We need to support our local health and fitness practitioners, our local coffee shops and tea rooms, our local people. Support them. Put your money there, and then the money stays
moving through the economy.
Mm.
Rather than, like a product is like a dead end, isn't it? This wear once outfit for Christmas and then it's in the charity shop, or worse still, landfill. So yeah, that's I think, I think that's what we've got to do. That's my goal for the new year. Pay less attention to the news.
I don't put the news on. I haven't turned the news on for years. I don't even turn it on in the car. Yeah, I'm either listening to an audiobook or a podcast or music, or something. So
Well, then I'm going to take a leaf out of your book, because I sort of worry about what's going on, and I worry about what's going to happen to the younger generation and their future, and so I do pay too much attention, I think, to the news.
I guess for me,
I'm shouting at it as well. I'm shouting at them, for goodness sake.
And I just think it's not good for my well-being when I get stressed like that. And so, for me, I just think, what can I control? And I can control donating to the local preschool. I can, do you see what I mean? And help local stuff. And in my mind, if I can do that, then the younger generation can see that and just follow that, rather than get sucked down this hole of the end of the world kind of negative doom and gloom and everything else, and the same for the industry, because like you're saying, it's if we're saying that people are not recession, they're not going to spend on leisure, then it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. But we know that there are people spending, so
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't think of anything better to invest your money on than your health and your well-being.
Absolutely.
What's that expression? Pay the farmer or pay the doctor. Pay the farmer and pay your fitness instructor, or pay the doctor and the orthopedic surgeon. You spend your money on your diabetes medication, and it's not about aesthetics at all. I don't believe that any of my clients are now exercising for aesthetic reasons as their first and foremost reason. It's definitely about mobility and well-being.
Well-being definitely is a word that we get here at the studio. Wellness, well-being, that's what they want. And then the older members, it's, do you know what, I want to get on the floor, play with my grandkids and get back up, and that kind of stuff.
And then when they achieve that, then they start finding other goals, but initially it is that. And then I had exactly that. I had a client who I said to her, so what is it that you're wanting to achieve from working with me? And she said, well, I want to sit on the floor and play with my granddaughter. Well, now she's got 7 grandchildren and she's riding a horse. She never thought that she'd be into horse riding. So her, she achieved that quite readily and quite easily, but then her other goals have evolved from there. So, it's okay to want to make yourself look the best that you can. And of course, it's more than okay. It's you're right as a human being to do exactly what it is that you want to be doing, as long as it doesn't hurt or harm anybody else. And including yourself. I do sometimes worry that there's a bit of self-abuse and unkindness when you're after those massive aesthetic goals. Not wishing to criticize Madonna at all. I'm wondering what's going on with Madonna.
I do wonder what's going on in her head. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, absolutely. But and I wish her well. I hope she's okay. The impression I'm getting is that she's not okay.
So I'm conscious of your time as well, Helen. So one last question. You've been in this industry for so long. What would your key message, like all the stuff that you've learned along the way and reflections that you've been doing, what would be your key message to those who are coming through right now, or who are currently in the industry?
Yeah.
as well.
Yes, because it's sort of two things really. I think first and foremost, I think you have to live your own message. Actually, be congruent with your message, and actually know what your message is. So knowing why you do what you do, and does that ally with your values? I've never had to do anything that didn't actually match what my belief was. And I've never had to teach something that I didn't believe in the value of, or the methodology with which it's delivered. And can I have two messages?
Go on. Because you can.
My other one is, please look after yourself. Have some respect for yourself. Please look after yourself. I think I've got away with flipping murder when it comes to how hard I've pushed my mind and my body over this time. And it can become a bit of a habit. It can become your identity. And remembering that it depends on your belief about life after death, I guess, but we only come down this pathway the once. And so make the most of every aspect of the journey, even the bits that are challenging. So I've got that right sometimes, and I've got it very wrong other times. So as I say, I'm still learning. I'm going to have to live forever until I get this right.
we could do like a conversation just purely on like everything that that we've done, that we go, oh God, like in hindsight.
That was a mess up. Yeah. I have this image now of us talking. I don't know if you ever saw the God, now what is it? Absolutely Fabulous episode where they projected into the future of Eddie and Patsy as really old ladies who were still misbehaving. So I've just had this image of us as these really old ladies
looking back
and looking forward, and I'd like to hope we've found some, we've got peace, and we're we're happy with what we've done, but we're exactly at peace with where we are.
I think so. I mean, ultimately, Helen, like what you've done, how much you give to this industry, how much you give to your DYBO family. What does DYBO stand for people that are listening who haven't got a clue?
Dance your butt off.
And I love that you're constantly learning and constantly open, to growth in that level as well, because the more you kind of grow, then the more you've got to give to your communities. And I think that's that's so wonderful. And to be still doing what you're doing now, considering you started when you were 16, it's just it's amazing. And I think it comes down to having a strong reason why you do what you do, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. And a belief that it's my vocation. I think I have had other opportunities, but those are all really lovely, kind things for you to say. I do genuinely, I'm genuinely massively interested. I'm impassioned, and I totally love it and the people that I'm in. And do I get it right all the time? No. Do I get the balance right all the time? No, I don't. And but I do believe that I was meant to be doing this and not the law. And I think one of the reasons that we connect so well is that I suspect you're exactly the same in that way. Coming at it from different positions and doing it in our own unique way. But goodness, isn't that the blessing?
Yeah.
There are so many people in this world that need all of our services, no matter what genre you teach or what your gender is, your age is. There is always somebody out there that will benefit from what it is that you have to deliver, because there's somebody that you or I cannot serve. We're not their people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I wish everyone the very, very best moving forward. Yourself and our colleagues out there, clients. I truly do.
So thank you so much, Helen. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, and one day we will meet up in person, because it's been too long.
I think we might have to have a bottle of champagne and just completely, that would be an interesting recording.
Can you imagine? Stick the camera on.
Oh my goodness. There'd be some truth bombs there, wouldn't there?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Helen,
Thank you,
for your
Auntie.
time.
Lovely
Take
chatting.
care.